Hey everybody, this is your GM, your back row Domus, your GM who currently is not on the team right now, but don't you worry about it, Kale, here to bring you episode 18 of the Stack and Shed series. Now, in this series, we're covering all 32 teams, so everybody gets a chance to be talked about, alright? Now, in this series, we're covering a few different topics, and they include what went wrong, what do they need, stack or shed, their draft picks, one move I would do in their cap space. Right now, in this episode, we're talking about the Panthers. So let's go to Gardeners. Let's get those hush puppies. Let's get a barbecue sandwich with the coleslaw on top of it. Let's get some sweet tea and let's talk about some football. All right, let's get into it. So what went wrong in the Panthers season? And I would venture to say it was stagnant quarterback play and offensive production. Although the offense showed flashes of their potential, the weight of stagnant play brought them back to reality. From Bryce Young struggling to maintain a rhythm to the persistent offensive setbacks, this past season left me with more questions than answers about the direction, growth, and ceiling of this offense. When comparing the 24 offense to the 25 offense, we only see minimal improvements. According to NFL Pro, the Panthers were 29th in offense and they averaged 20.1 points per game, 298 yards per game, 5.1 yards per play, and 40 touchdowns. They were 30th in passing offense and they averaged 187.5 passing yards per game, 5.5 passing yards per play, and 22 passing touchdowns. They were 18th in rushing offense and they averaged 110.5 rushing yards per game, 4.6 rushing yards per play, 18 rushing touchdowns, and had 40 rushes of 10 plus yards or more. However, last year the Panthers were 27th in offense and they averaged 18.3 points per game, 295.6 yards per game, 5 yards per play, and 33 touchdowns. They were 26th in passing offense and they averaged 179.3 passing yards per game, 5.5 passing yards per play, and 24 passing touchdowns. They were 19th in rushing offense and they averaged 116.3 rushing yards per game, 4.3 rushing yards per play, 9 rushing touchdowns, and have 45 rushes of 10 plus yards or more. Regardless if you think their struggles are tied to coaching, roster building, or meddling ownership, the Panthers are once again at a crossroads between moving forward with Bryce Young or hitting the reset button again. And while Bryce Young went toe-to-toe with the Rams and almost made the playoffs, his growth plateaued as he was unable to overcome his struggles. Now, I'm not saying he had a bad year, but I think Bryce Young had flashy performances instead of an extended body of work showing that he's developing in the right way. When we compare some of his better performances to his worst performances, it clearly shows a quarterback who's stalled. For example, when Bryce Young went against the Rams in Week 13, he was 20 attempts for 15 completions, 206 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 10.3 yards per attempt, and a 75% completion percentage. But when he faced the Seahawks, however, he was 24 attempts for 14 completions, 54 passing yards, 1 interception, 2.3 yards per attempt, and a 58.3 completion percentage. When he faced the Cowboys, he was 25 attempts for 17 completions, 199 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 8 yards per attempt, and a 68% completion percentage. When he faced the Falcons, he was 45 attempts for 31 completions, 448 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 10 yards per attempt, and a 68.9 completion percentage. Now, I understand every quarterback is going to have their highs and lows throughout the season, but when we talk about Bryce Young, we're not talking about him in a way where he's either growing or declining, but instead somebody that is stalling. Now, with that being said, what do the Panthers need? And that is more offensive production and progressive quarterback play. At this moment, I believe the Panthers have a top 15 to maybe 20 offense that has the upside to be better depending on their additions and coaching adjustments. For example, if they started to scheme Xavier Legette, Ted McMillan, and Tommy Tremble in a way where they can attack the soft coverages and defenses while creating mismatches, then maybe we'll see a better result. Now, as far as the quarterback play, that's a little tricky because that requires a coaching adjustment. And when I mean coaching adjustment, I mean scheming up a game plan that works with Bryce Young's skill set. I don't know about y'all, and I would love to hear what Panthers fans have to say about this. So let me know on our YouTube at Football Junkies Pod, Football Junkies Pod, on our Instagram at Football_Junkies Pod, Football_Junkies Pod, and on our TikTok at Football Junkies Pod. Football Junkies Pod, if you think Dave Canales is trying to fit Bryce Young into the Baker Mayfield mold. And when I mean the Baker Mayfield mold, I mean curating a game plan that worked for Baker Mayfield instead of Bryce Young. Bryce Young is not a gunslinger like how Baker Mayfield is. Instead, Bryce Young is a mobile quarterback who can push the ball down the field not only with his arm but with his legs. Now, with that being said, the question we all need to ask ourselves is stack or shed. And I would venture to say stack. And the reason why I say that is because the Panthers were close to making the playoffs, and they held their own against the Packers and Rams. That signals to me that this team is 1 to 2 off seasons away from being competitors. And with the division being open, I think this is the perfect opportunity for the Panthers to stake their claim and make this division theirs for years to come. Looking at their draft picks, they have their first, second, third, fourth, 2 fifths, and a sixth. Now, I wonder what position will the Panthers target first, because Dan Morgan didn't rule out taking another wide receiver in the first round. Now, we all know we're in the smokescreen phase of the pre-draft, so we can't always believe what GMs, coaches, owners, and even insiders say. But according to CBS sports writer Shayna McCarraston, which I will put the link of her article in the description of this episode, the Panthers have brought in AJ Halsey, safety from LSU, Daquan Wright, tight end from Ole Miss, Oscar Delp, tight end from Georgia, Kalen Black, running back from Indiana, Travis Burke, offensive tackle from Memphis, Casey Concepcion, wide receiver from Texas A&M, Jalen Kilgore, defensive back from South Carolina, Chris McCullen, defensive tackle from Missouri, Tyler Onyedim, defensive tackle from Texas A&M, Traden Stukes, quarterback from Arizona, Haynes King, quarterback from Georgia Tech, Chase Basantis, guard from Texas A&M, Dominique Orange, defensive tackle from Iowa State, Justin Jolly, tight end from NC State, Denzel Boston, wide receiver from Washington, Gerard McCoy, cornerback from Tennessee, Nick Barrett, defensive tackle from South Carolina, Kerryon Crawford, defensive end from Auburn, Max Ihanichor, offensive tackle from Arizona State, Deion Burks, wide receiver from Oklahoma, Diego Pava, quarterback from Vanderbilt, Omar Cooper, wide receiver from Indiana, and Baron Morton, quarterback from Texas Tech. By having the 19th pick in the first round, the Panthers are in range to take Denzel Boston, Casey Concepcion, and or Omar Cooper if they're serious about it. But outside of wide receiver, I think safety, corner, tight end, defensive tackle, and quarterback are all positions the Panthers can target. Now, the one move that I would do, which they've already done, is pick up Bryce Young's 5th-year option. Although he had a better season, I still believe he's unproven and needs to show more consistency. I'd rather hold off on paying him than having to pay market value and then you're having buyer's remorse. Because according to Spotrac, his market value is a 3-year, $111.4 million deal, which is $37.2 million a year. And with the possibility of the 27 draft class being loaded at quarterback, I'd rather keep my options open than handcuffing myself to Bryce Young. Looking at their cap situation, they have $3.1 million, which isn't a lot right now. But I expect for them to make some minor adjustments in somebody's contract just so they can have more than enough money to sign their entire rookie class. But let's see what the future holds. But I'm going to end this episode here. If you guys like what you're listening, please make sure you guys leave a 5-star review on anywhere and everywhere that you can listen to this podcast, all right? We are available on Apple, Spotify, and a few other places. Now, if you want to access those places, go on Google, type in Football Junkies Pod. It should be the first link. When you click on that link, it'll take you to our RSS.com page where you can listen to this podcast on your online browser, all right? Now, there should be a box that says Listen To. When you click on that box, it'll give you a plethora of different places that you can listen to this podcast, all right? Now, for my YouTube people, like, share, subscribe, turn the notification bell on, leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on anything and everything that I've said in this episode and in previous episodes. Am I right? Am I wrong? Let's talk about it, all right? Now, on our YouTube, there is a link tree. When you click on that link tree, it'll take you to anywhere and everywhere that we have Football Junkies content, all right? And you can follow us on Instagram at Football_Junkies Pod. Football_Junkies Pod. Junkies Pod is not what? It is together, not spaced, okay? It is together, not spaced. Football_Junkies Pod, all right? You can follow us on TikTok at Football Junkies Pod. Football Junkies Pod. I got some clips. I'm going to post them. Give me some time, all right? You can follow me on Blue Sky at GMKale. GMKAILE. GMKAILE. You can follow me on Twitter at GMKAILE. GMKAILE. Kaile. And if you're a podcaster or a content creator such as myself, then why don't you sign up for RSS.com using my affiliate link, which is in the description of every single episode. When you use that link, all the proceeds will go back into the podcast in the form of new equipment, new information that we can use for future episodes, and anything that we can do to make this podcast better for you guys, all right? And as always, I hope I gave you guys the fix that you guys need. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for listening to the best football podcast that you can listen to on a week-to-week, day-to-day basis. And as always, this is your GM Kale signing out. Peace and love. Later, guys.